Around 20 years ago, my grandmother Olga sat down at her computer and wrote her story. Thinking that the computer was a typewriter, every day she wrote, she printed, with no page numbers. So by the end, she had a massive pile of paper all stacked up and put into a box. Last year, my mom Erika had it put in order and translated from Hungarian to English. Since my grandmother passed away in 2017, we didn't have the opportunity to have her record her story. So I have. I will also be weaving a parallel journey of my grandmother's life with my mom's life and mine, as we travel into the past, learn about my grandmother, and learn about ourselves at the same time. The journey continues. Olga, Erika, and me. Part 6. Sera. My memoir would be so different had my life not been altered by the war forever. But how could I bring some joy into my writing? How could I start it by once upon a time? I wish I had a magic wand that could miraculously make the war go away as if it had only been a terrible nightmare. Sadly, no one can change what happened. It was a worldwide destruction, and there's no awakening from it. The murderers carried out mass destruction, and it isn't finished yet. The true love we had for each other, the true understanding, helped us overcome all difficulties and helped me look at the world with more optimism. I felt that I was of a more cheerful disposition than Aron, and we could only create a better future for us if we got rid of our lethargy. I had more strength and willpower. I never let things pull me down, and I gave Aron back his vitality. We managed to create a happy and charming little place for ourselves and build a new life. We only had few relatives. Not many people came back from our families. I had one aunt who survived with her family, and Aron had a few relations who returned, but they soon emigrated, like so many others. Survivors couldn't find a place for themselves anywhere. They couldn't find their family. They couldn't find anything from their old lives. We had nothing when we started out, but what we really missed was our parents, siblings, and friends who never came back. 2 years later, our dear daughter Erika was born. She was a beautiful blonde little girl. Everybody loved her, children and adults alike. She had a nice voice, and she hadn't even turned 4 when she sang in the intermission in the movie theater. When she was older, Tivadar Bilici took her up on stage and they sang together, "Daddy, How Does the Elephant Go Into the Lion's Den?" This was a hit at the time, and this famous actor lifted Erika up after the song, and they received a huge round of applause.
I would come and stay in Budapest every summer. They stuck me up here with aunts and uncles, and it was probably at the Jewish ghetto, all of it, you know. Margit Nini, who was my father's first cousin, they had no children, so they loved me. And they would say, "Erika, what would you like to eat?" I always wanted chicken paprikash or fried chicken with French fries. That was the two. It's easy to please. I love to sing, you know, performing and singing and all that. And Margit Nini said her husband was coming back from work. And he said, "Why don't you sing? He will think it's the radio." I was so gullible. Is it sweet? Because your voice is so beautiful. I mean, it's always been Erika, sing, sing, sing. It was like that.
But you were how old, 5, 6?
Probably about 5, because to be so gullible, you got to be about 5. And he came and he said, "Where is that sound from? He's faking it. Where does that sound, that beautiful voice come from?" They played along, you know. They were so nice to me. And I came out from behind the kaiha. "I'm here, it's me." And
How long would you stay there for?
I would stay there for a month. My mother went off to Heves, which is a spa.
Oh, wow.
And my father stayed home.
Of course, working. So they have a comfortable life.
A very comfortable life. That's why they didn't want to leave Hungary. They had a lovely life. They're very well off. When they closed the shop, the government took the shop away from my father.
Why?
because communists wouldn't let you have anything. You weren't allowed to own anything. Communism, no ownership.
So I don't understand. They came in one day and they went, sorry, we're closing you down?
They closed them down. You can't own land. You can't own anything.
After our tour with Sylvie around Heidelberg and seeing the synagogue and finding my grandfather's family on the Holocaust memorial, my mother and I took a walk around the town. We turned left down a road, and suddenly my mother felt as if it was all very familiar. I mean, she had lived here to the age of 8, but it was such a long time ago. We walked down this road, and suddenly my mother stopped, and this was the house she grew up in.
This looks like it? This is the type of house you would have lived in?
Yeah. I remember the recess like that. See, there was another hallway. Where you see that window, it used to be our kitchen, and that's where the entrance to the house was. And it's just... And I don't know what kind of a tree that is. I'd like to know what kind of tree that is, because it was an apricot tree.
You think this was it?
This looks very familiar.
Wow.
I mean, it looks different, but when I looked in, and it hasn't changed, maybe I'm looking for something that would satisfy me, but my God, that looks familiar. I think this would have been part of the house too. We would come out here. This is the main road, and my father's store was right down here. I'm 90% sure that's the street. I'm so glad I saw that.
Well, you kind of wanted to walk that way. You had this feeling,
Yeah,
didn't
there
you?
was just something told me to, something.
After our very emotional time in Hungary, my mother and I took a train from Budapest to Vienna. It was a route all too familiar, because in 1956, during the Hungarian Revolution, my grandparents and my mother left their home in Heidelberg and escaped out of Hungary. Since 1949, the country had been blocked off by the Iron Curtain, a deadly border of barbed wire, landmines, and watchtowers to stop people from escaping to the west. But by mid-1956, much of this border was taken down. The Hungarian Revolution began on October 23rd, with citizens rising up against communism. For a brief moment, it seemed like the Soviets might allow more freedom. But on November 4th, Soviet tanks entered Budapest, crushing the uprising. As a result, about 200,000 Hungarians fled, many crossing into Austria, which opened its borders to help. Countries around the world joined in, making it one of the most successful efforts to resettle refugees.
Let me get this straight. So when you left Heidelberg, you
Yeah.
took a train to Budapest
With my mother.
with your... and Gapapa.
No,
How did he... What happened with him?
he was still there.
He stayed in Heidelberg?
He stayed in Heidelberg because she was doing arrangements for us to escape. So we came by train from Heidelberg to Budapest around the 10th of December, 1956. And my mother said, I have to tell you something. We'll never go back to Heidelberg. Oh, why? What about Papa? He's going to come and join us in a day or two. You'll never go back. What about my cat? I'm so sorry, you'll never see your cat again. Just heartbroken. I've had that cat, I think, by then about 3 years.
So you went to Budapest, and then what happened?
We went and stayed at Nelly, her sister, and at night we went somewhere together where the people, it was sort of very hush-hush. I remember people sitting on the floor, people sitting everywhere. We were probably about 15.
Where was this?
Somewhere in Budapest, an apartment. I don't know how she did this, but only she knew. And they talked about when and how we were going to go to the border. My father came, I think a day or two later, I'm not sure, but not much longer.
Why did he stay? Why didn't he come with you?
I don't know. My father never wanted to leave Hungary. So this was very hard for him. We were all about 10, 12 people. We took a train like this at night to the border. Not as lovely as this. It's an old train.
So from Budapest to the border of Austria. Do you know where exactly?
Hegyeshalom. That's where we got off.
We are going there. Hegyeshalom. It's one of the stops
Yeah, of
on
course.
this train.
It is the last stop.
and then it's Vienna. So we're going to be passing through. So this is probably the exact train route. How funny.
And then we got off the train, middle of the night, and we had to walk. And with us was a gypsy guy who was willing to carry our things. He was willing to carry me. And I said to my mother, no, it smells too much of cigarettes. I held my father's hand very tightly, and we walked through the mud fields with only our little belongings, whatever we could carry. You know, you get dressed in layers and layers. That's all you could take with you. I remember, I think my father brought me my little doll.
So how long was the walk?
It seemed like forever, because we had to go through little rivulets, you know, so you had to somebody had put down like a plank. I would hold my father's arm like this, and I slept, walking and sleeping. I never forget that. It was just comforting. So at one point, we saw a flashlight among the trees, and we all got down on the ground like we didn't give a shit. We did not know it was a guard. If they catch us, they put us into prison in Budapest.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So then what happened?
So we're walking and crossing this and walking. It probably was about an hour walk, at least an hour. The flashlight went away, whoever was there, and finally we came to a place. And our leader said, okay, here's the border. And then he said, I would like the Jews and the Christians separate. My mother understood what it was. He just wanted more money. Whatever he'd given him, he wanted more.
So the Christians didn't have to pay extra, but the Jews did.
And my mother said, suffered enough. Why are you doing this? Oh, Arsanom, comrade, where are you from? And my mother said, Haidu Sabaslo. Oh, do you know so-and-so? It was just a way of getting out of it. Do you know so-and-so family? And my mother said, yes, very well, bullshit.
Oh, she didn't know them?
No, she knew it was a kind of a thing, okay, how am I going to get out of this kind of.
Wow.
And my mother said, oh, of course I do. He says, well, any friend of those is a friend of mine. My mother said, if you want money, I'll give you the foreign, because in Austria, it's not going to be worth anything. She pulled out a pocket and she gave him all the money she had. That was it. But it was awful. Poor woman. Poor my father, my mother, you know.
But how many other Jewish families were you with?
Most of the people were not Jewish.
Were not?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I'm a little girl, 9 years old, middle of the night, December, cold. It's December 14th. So my father, in the meantime, had gone ahead.
What?
That's Aron for you.
He just walked ahead?
He walked ahead because he wanted to check out if it was really the border, if this guy was telling us the truth. And my mother suddenly turned around and she says, where's my husband? He had gone ahead and found us a haystack. And we slept in a haystack. They were big and cozy. And I never slept so well in my life, I never forget.
So is this haystack still in Hungary or was it in Austria?
That was in Austria.
Oh, you thought you were still in Hungary at that point?
We did.
Did the guide not know?
He said further this point is Austria. And my mother didn't believe him. It wasn't until next morning when we woke up, the haystack was right beside a highway, a little highway. And it was a bicyclist. And he said, Guten Morgen. And my brother said, I never thought I'd be happy to hear German again. So then we found a train station, wasn't too far away. And we got a train to Vienna, which was probably about 2 hours or something, hour or two. And we went to the train station, and when we arrived to Vienna, it was Friday night, and it smelled of sausages, it smelled of Wurst. Oh, and we were very hungry. We hadn't eaten since God knows when. And I asked my mother, oh, it smells so good. She said, would you like to have a sausage?
Aww.
And I said, it's not kosher. She said, it's kosher.
So wasn't there any suspicion of people traveling on the train to that town? I mean, you would think that they were on high alert about people trying to escape Hungary.
No, well, that's why you get off the train and you walk. A couple of days later, they shut the border completely.
Wow.
We had just made it on the skin of our teeth. We were very late. All our family, everybody had left because my father hesitated.
But Nellie stayed in Budapest?
They had a good life in Hungary.
Do you think you could have had a good life?
Maybe.
Maybe Gapapa thought that.
Yeah, he thought if I was going to become a singer, yes, I would have had a good life. That was my only chance.
If you stayed in Hungary.
If I stayed in Hungary, maybe that's, and be in the theater and stuff like that. So that was that. So we arrived and we found an address for a synagogue in Austria. And we slept on the floor.
Of the synagogue.
All of us, we were probably about 56 people, a lot of people.
How many days did you stay there?
Not long, maybe 2 days, 3 days. And my father taught me my first word of a foreign language.
What was that?
Dankeschön and bitte sehr. And he said, you'll never speak Hungarian again. It'll be another language.
We explored the beautiful city of Vienna. My mother remembered the address of where they stayed as refugees, so we went and looked for it.
What are you hoping to see? Where you were living?
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see if I can. I think it's for
Recognize it?
16.
16.
Yeah, I think so.
So did you have an apartment?
Oh, God, no. We lived here like 50 people. It was
For a year and a half?
no, for about 2-3 months. Then we were moved out to Korneuburg, which is out of the city.
Oh, I see.
I don't know how far it is. I would have to check on the map. I wonder if they would have a plaque or something.
Don't know.
They probably not. Maybe not. Maybe
No.
yes.
Erika was here.
Yeah,
Famous Hungarian singer.
that's right. I made everybody happy.
Any of this look familiar?
Yeah, it all looks familiar.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
For
Crazy.
sure I walked down the street.
This is Malzgasse. Number
It would have been
16?
there, yeah.
Okay, let's go this way.
Not sure if it's this way.
Well, we'll see if the numbers go up or down. Because this is number 5.
I think it's to the right.
It's that way.
Yeah, it's to the right. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. They might have torn it down.
Well, these look like old buildings. There's no number. Is this it? That was 18.
Why is everything from
Yeah.
my past abandoned?
It's here. It would have been here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a picture. There is now a space between 2 buildings, number 14 and number 18.
Condemned.
And now there's just this courtyard of sorts. On either side of these 2 buildings is where number 16 would have been. What are you trying to do?
There's Hebrew writing there.
Can you see anything?
Yeah.
Do you think it was a building here?
No, I think it was in there.
So you think there was a door? This was the door.
They put a gate up, but it was this door, yeah.
So number 16 was within the courtyard.
Yes. It was in there.
Oh.
Well, it looks very shut.
Yeah. Look, there's a mezuzah. It's definitely a Jewish place.
But definitely, that's where we stayed.
I don't think anybody's there. It's Saturday.
Too bad. It's a school.
It's a school, isn't it? That's where you stayed with 50 other people. And that's the gymnasium. Well, at least we found it.
Yeah, I found it.
How interesting. Number 16, Malzgasse.
Well, thank you for coming with me.
That's okay. I'm glad we found it. It's quite a long way. It was an adventure, wasn't it, going into the center of town?
Oh, I was with this little boy. It was freedom, was great, was...
It's amazing that Gamma and Gapapa let you go. They weren't worried about losing you.
No, not here. In Heidelberg, yeah, the poor father.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yes. What happened was my mother would come into the shop and say, Erika is gone. She's wandered off again somewhere. And my father would close the store, tell everybody to get out. All the clients go out. I have to go and find my daughter. Get on the bike.
Oh.
Find me wandering around on the street.
Oh my God. You're a pain in the ass.
I was a horrible child. It wasn't such a terrible place, Malzgasse.
No.
I have nice memories of it. I only remember being in a room with a lot of people, but they were fine. They felt that they had accomplished escaping successfully.
Yes.
After a year and a half in Austria, my grandparents and my mother moved to Sweden. Sweden was one of the nations that helped refugees from Hungary. On November 23, 1956, Sweden's Minister of Aid and Immigration, Ella Lindström, spoke at the United Nations, urging countries to help, especially by taking in the older and sicker refugees. She also stressed the importance of giving them jobs to help them start new lives. By 1958,
Sweden had resettled more than 7,300 Hungarians, showing how nations could work together to support people fleeing conflict and give them hope for the future.
The reason we went to Sweden was because my father, from the war, he had a pleurisy on his lung. You know, it's like a scar. And we were in Austria and we wanted to go to Canada or United States. And they went up and they always checked your health. So they took an X-ray of my father's lungs and they found the pleurisy that left from the war. And they refused him. Then Sweden put out an announcement that anybody who's got tuberculosis, you're welcome to come to Sweden. We'll take care of you. Because Sweden was very embracing of people who were not well. And we were by then a year and a half in Austria. And we lived 30 people in a room. Women, men, children. It was just like a refugee camp. You know, you went to school, I learned to speak German. And you don't think of it as a kid. You're very much adaptable. So they called and they said, anybody wants to go to Sweden? My mother said, all right, well, let's apply. Let's go to Sweden. So we applied and we were called up to the consulate and they've taken an X-ray of my father. And the man said, I'm very sorry, but you're not accepted because there's nothing wrong with your husband's lungs. He had our application in the garbage can. He threw in and said, I'm so sorry. And my mother said, burst out crying. Canada and the United States says he's got something wrong with his lungs. What are we doing? We're living in this bloody camp. We'd love to go to a country that would take us. And we have this daughter, she's got an amazing voice. And we'd like to train her voice. And the man said, really? She's got a good voice. Erika, can you sing me a song? And I thought, I'm not a singing dog. But you see, I had been in plays in the camp, and I learned this song by heart. I had no idea what it meant, and I had learned it completely phonetically. It was que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And I didn't want to sing. And my mother said, sing! Okay, so I sang, and he went into the garbage can, retrieved the paper, and he said, well, if you go to Sweden, it'll be because of your daughter. 3 weeks later, we got an invitation. Congratulations, you're accepted to Sweden.
After the war, Nellie got married again and she never worked after her marriage. Of our large family, only the two of us survived, but we lived far from each other. The strong family bond was broken. Our paths diverged. Survivors went to different countries, settled in different cities, and as only a fraction of our family survived, the spirit of belonging disappeared. Although Nellie and I tried to keep our sense of belonging alive, we no longer had the same deep feelings for one another. Maybe it was because of all that we had been through, which made us apathetic.
Did I ever tell you when the first time I really heard about Auschwitz and that whole, what she went through?
No.
It was when we went to Sweden, I was 10, and we were on the train going to Sweden. We stopped in Munich or some German city. For about 15 minutes, you get off. And she stuck her head out and she started to speak German to some woman there. And the woman said, well, there's more Jews come back than left, not knowing that my mother was Jewish. She was absolutely devastated hearing that. And she didn't say anything. She just put her head back and came to our car and told my father. She didn't tell me, because I didn't know exactly what it was about yet. I never heard about what had gone on in the war. I knew there was a lot of pain, and I know there would be crying, and she was stressed, but I did not know that she was living with horrors, with memories. Arriving to South Sweden, Malmö, which is the main city, suddenly train stops, and it's about 8 o'clock at night. They come in, and somebody says, we're going to another train, and all the men, women or men, who need to go to the sanatorium, please come with us. And my mother became hysterical. What is going on? Why are you separating me from my husband? He says, Madame, you know we're taking him to a sanatorium because of his lungs. You're going to be going to Budapest, and we're taking him to Sefre. And they took my father away. Then they took us to a place where they gave us a bath, rubbed us down. And my mother was really crying, and she's talking in German. And I didn't understand what was wrong. She's upset, I said to the women, because they were so nice to us. They were just making us comfortable. I said, probably in German, she's upset because my father and my mother were separated. And then my mother said something in German that I had this separation before my family. And the Swedish women were so lovely. They were so sympathetic. And they were holding her and hugging her, calming her down.
But as soon as you started talking about that they were cleaning you, it made me think of Gamama arriving at Auschwitz and having to be cleaned and disinfected and shaved.
Yeah, we were cleaned like that. That was another thing that freaked her out. They were just trying to be nice. You've been on the train ride for days. You must want to feel warm and you want to have welcoming. But that would freak me out had I lived through that.
I can imagine that was very traumatic.
Very traumatic. And they put us into a little room, very modern, very clean. But she slept upstairs, a bunker bed. She slept upstairs, I slept downstairs. And then she said, you know what, Erika, I have to tell you what happened to me when I was with my parents. That's what she told me. I was 10 years old. She never told me anything. She wanted to protect me from this. I was horrified. It was not something I hadn't guessed, that something was really bad. I heard about things, people whispering and talking. But when she told me, I was just really afraid I'll never see your father again. I was really scared they were separating us again, just like they separated my parents and me. I said, oh, no, they're very nice here. It's not going to happen. They took us to a beautiful pension overlooking a lake. It was really pretty. That was very traumatic. That's when I found out. I became older. She kept telling me the same story, how she was separated from her mother by Mengele as he was humming Tosca.
My dear parents were always with me in spirit. They gave me advice, they lovingly guided me, and when I grew tired, I evoked their image, and that gave me strength to start anew. This is what allowed me to really love my dear Aron, my only daughter, and my only granddaughter. I have a lot of love in me, and I passed it on to my small family, and this love is the dearest and most beautiful thing in the world.
My grandparents and my mother stayed in Sweden till 1961. My mother settled well, but my grandparents did not. They struggled to find their community and eventually had a family member from Canada sponsor them and arranged for passports.
My mother wanted to move to Stockholm because she always wanted to live in the capital. She said, why should I live in a small town? I already lived in a small town. I want to live in a big town. So she wanted to move to Stockholm. The irony is, when the Jewish committee that helped us a lot, it's called the Mosaiska, and when the woman at the Mosaiska found out that we were leaving Sweden, she was shocked. She said, oh, why? And my mother says, well, I wanted to move to Stockholm. Why didn't you tell me that you want to move to Stockholm? I could have done something for you. It was too late by then. She had the passport in her hands. She said, I could have found you an apartment if that's what you wanted.
So it wasn't Gamama's fault.
No, it wasn't Gamama's fault, but the timing was really shitty. Because you don't pull out a child in May from school. I was going to be going with my school to another city because I was a very good student. And all the good students, it was something I looked forward to so much.
Did she know about that?
Even if she knew about it, she wouldn't have cared.
Of course she cared.
She wouldn't have, no, I don't know. It was so important for me.
In Canada, life was hard, and again they had to learn another language. My grandfather gave up. He didn't want to learn anymore. My grandmother, however, managed to continue her career in clothing design, which she started in Sweden, and was very successful. My mother followed in her footsteps and is also very successful. She had her own children's clothing line for years and now designs and makes handcrafted robes for lawyers and judges in Canada. My mom and dad met each other when they were 17 and got married when they were 19. It was their way out of their homes, away from the religion, away from the heaviness of the lives their parents had lived. My father's parents were also Holocaust survivors. They attempted a life in Israel straight after the war, but it was very hard, and soon moved with their 2 sons, my father and his brother, to Canada. My mom and dad didn't last very long. They had me, and soon divorced. My father sadly did not cope very well with his life or his family's past. He suffered from mental health issues and ended his life in 1985 when I was 14.
What were you expecting from this trip?
Well, I got a sort of a closure.
Do you feel less guilty?
Now I feel much less guilty.
Good. Because you kept saying you felt bad that you didn't really push Gamama to...
As a result, it was very interesting that this morning, just before I woke up, it was very clear. I saw her. We went back, you and I. She's always okay in my dreams. She's always independent in my dreams. She looked great. And I told her that we had gone to Budapest to go back, and she kind of looked like, why did you do that?
But perhaps that's a question you're asking yourself. Why bring up the past like this? What's the point? What good is it going to do?
And she kind of made us feel like, how could you go without me? Which is what she would do anyways, right?
But it has been a journey of discovery.
Yeah. Discovery that led us almost nowhere, actually, in a way. But
Oh,
it
that's depressing.
It was interesting to see my hometown looking so good.
Yeah, but I thought it was good to see Gamama's hometown, regardless.
Her hometown kind of impressed on me more.
Yeah, I think that was the point, really. I wanted us to go to Bössemen because obviously that's where you grew up and it wasn't far and it felt like might as well.
Yeah, 15 minutes away.
Yeah. I still can't believe she never took you there.
So it was a year ago I came up with the idea to make a podcast about my grandmother. At first, I thought it would be a good idea to just record the story using my voice as a way for people to listen to it. Sometimes reading a book is not the same as hearing a voice animated or bring it to life, and I thought that was going to be enough. But then my mother found that there were bits missing. She felt that some of the stories didn't have all the details that she was told. So we went off to Hungary to retrace my grandmother's footsteps, to see where she grew up, to see where she had lived and experienced her life before the war. And during that time, my mother and I got to bond, got to know each other once again, and learn a little bit more about each other. It's funny, when I started this journey, I felt that making a podcast was the most natural thing for me to do. I edit dialogue for television and film, and I thought it would be an easier task than writing a book or making a film. I recorded my voice because it felt so personal. My grandmother's story was actually addressed to my mother and me. And I felt I couldn't let anyone else read it. I felt this was my responsibility, that it was my honor to read her story. Then having my mom fill in the holes and discussing the memoir with her was another interesting aspect. And once again, I didn't think that my voice or my point of view would be necessary. Here are two women who are very strong and animated and compelling. I'll be the instigator. I'll be the interviewer, the editor, and producer. And since the listener hears my voice reading Olga's memoir, I felt it was a bit over the top to have me all over it as well. Like, how egotistical can I be? But technically, it's not my voice. It's Olga's voice. I've found it very difficult adding my words or feelings to the podcast. I've hated it, to be honest. It feels very exposing and uncomfortable, but at the same time, very freeing. I'm hoping that I've managed to take the listener on the journey and act as their guide while answering questions along the way. My grandmother was a huge force and was very strong-minded, as I'm sure you can hear. Growing up, when I spoke my mind or questioned her, such as her beliefs, her religion, I would get shot down. I learned to stay quiet because everything I said felt wrong. I also did not want to deal with the confrontations that it would create. My mom's different, and she fought against my grandmother and her ideals. But I was placed between two very opposing views and ideologies. My mother said when I was small and after visiting my grandparents, she felt she had to recalibrate my brain. I was constantly battling the two sides. Look, don't get me wrong, they were loving and cared for me beyond words. But I always felt stuck and quiet. My grandfather was a peacemaker, and as I got older, and after he passed away when I was 14, I was given that role. The podcast has given me the time to realize all these things about myself while learning about my grandmother. I understand her a lot more and why and how she felt she needed to mold me. It is amazing how Olga managed to keep a sense of herself during the war, what she went through, like, where's my family, dominoes, death march, running out of water, all the layers that would have added to the trauma trolley and things that we would today unpack in therapy. When the war ends, she gets back to life. There's no one around, no help, no therapy. They don't talk. They just move on and bury it. I'm hoping that this will inspire people to chat with their grandparents or wider family. I know that when you're young, you just don't know there are questions to ask. My grandmother has given me a gift by writing what she experienced. I do wish I could go back in time to speak to her and ask her questions. But I'm lucky. I have this memoir.
I really miss my dear granddaughter. It feels as if she had left ages ago. I knew it was going to be very difficult, but as time passes, it's becoming increasingly hard. Maybe because I am not in a good shape anymore. 2 or 3 years feel like 10 to me. We are very excited. The first great-grandchild is due any day now, God willing. I would love to be a bird and fly there and peek in through the window, but I hope that it will go smoothly, and it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. The only thing that matters is that it be healthy. I hope it will be easier to dress my great-grandchild than it was to dress the mother, because no matter how hard we tried, she didn't like any of our creations apart from her wedding dress. I can hardly wait to hold my great-grandchild in my arms. Calm down, Olgie. Mazel tov. Our little heir has been born. He is perfect. Love at first sight. He looks at me with his beautiful and intelligent eyes, and I would love to hug him close to me, but I'm afraid that he would start to cry. I would like to congratulate Ilanit and Mark for this perfect baby. I wish them all the happiness in the world. I had not been well lately. Erika had left for London a week ago, but nothing could stop me from flying there too to see my first great-grandchild. I wanted to see the baby. I wanted to see their beautiful home, and no one could be happier than me to be there. I thank God for helping me to make this trip, and my dear Aron was in my thoughts the whole time. He would have been so happy to live to see the birth of his first great-grandson. He would have loved him to pieces. My dear Aron, I hope you are with me in spirit, as I feel you always are. I always feel that you know everything, that you are there with me. I can't imagine my life without you. You are in my thoughts day and night. I often wake up thinking that you had just gone out the door. I think a lot about how life is in the hereafter. You are with me often, and I dream about you all the time. My dear Erika, I am not joking when I tell you that I will be looking down at you from above. I will be looking down, making sure that you are all healthy and happy. I will be thinking of you all with a lot of love and wish you a lot of joy and good luck. My dear Ilanit, I know very well that each grandchild is very dear for their grandmother, but I have to say that you are especially dear to me. I would like to write you more, but I don't want to bore you any longer. Lots of love for Erika and Ilanit. My love will always be with you.
This podcast would not have been possible without the help and support of friends, family, and colleagues, especially Patricia Rodriguez for helping me with the recording of my grandmother's memoir at her home studio and giving me guidance and direction. Mike Gardam for his encouraging words, my friends Kate Roberts, Dennis Weinrich, Caroline Nathan, Rebecca John, Paul Martin, Simon Gershon, Michelle Chaquette, and Debbie Birch for her wisdom and therapy. I'd also like to thank the two Katis, Katlin Hadhazi and Katika Imene, for their help in Haidu Hadhaz and spending the day with us touring the town my grandmother grew up. Sylvia Ignat for showing us around Heidebussemain and being so integral to the Holocaust memorial in the town center. To Esther Andor for her fantastic translation of my grandmother's text from Hungarian to English, and her son Aron for arranging our meetings in Hungary. To my special family in Israel, Dorit and David Katz, for welcoming me to their home and driving me to visit and interview Magda Ungar, her daughter Ranit Carmen, and Yutkar Shachar, who I am so thankful for sitting with me and talking to me. Special thanks to my boys Jake and Zach for their love and support. This would not have been possible without my mother, Erika Eriksson's amazing storytelling and being an integral part of the podcast and getting the memoir translated from Hungarian to English. And of course, a very special thank you to my supportive and loving husband, Mark, who traveled with me to Auschwitz and has listened to this podcast more times than I have. And finally, and most importantly, my grandmother, Olga Berkovits-Fish, for taking the time all those years ago and writing her story. Thank you for listening.